Okay. So in being curious, I think my very first influence in deciding to do this Reiki endeavor was probably when I was a kid. I'm not going to spend too much time there in that world, but some of you have seen this picture. This is me when I was a wee little one, instructing whoever was there at my birthday party. That's my dad's mom, my grandmom, and I think, Mom, maybe that's your friend. That's not my mom, but that was a friend. So I think I always had a desire to teach and to share with other people. I mean, that picture kind of demonstrates it. And then, of course, I mean, I have a really big influence for my generation.
I can't. It's too big. Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? And where you should not. For my ally is the Force. And a powerful ally it is. Life breeds it. Makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship.
You want the impossible.
So I wanted to share Yoda with y'all because he really was my first Reiki master, my first teacher. And so I kind of ended up seeking out a path where I could work with the Force. I mean, I guess truth be told, the vocational piece of it, that started to come when I realized there was a need for it. And this is a video that was done of me some time ago about my own path of coming to it and just deciding about it.
So 20 years ago, I was beginning my career as a social worker, and I realized I was quite sensitive and I would pick up people's emotional energy. And although I like to help people, I didn't want to go home with the stuff that was coming at me. So I took it upon myself to find different ways, and I explored meditation and yoga and different traditions. And one thing after another led me to Reiki, to my teacher. And I didn't know what to expect. I had only done social work, and as I entered this room where these people were laying their hands on each other, I thought, this is crazy. This can't be real. And I received this healing from these practitioners where I was timeless and weightless for, felt like hours, and it was only about 15 minutes. And I went, huh. And the next day I went into work, and I didn't pick up people's pain. I could be with it. So I knew I had found something I needed to explore. And I basically spent then the next 2 years under an apprenticeship with my teacher, learning, teaching, helping, growing. And this was all back east. I'm a Jersey girl. So when I came to Seattle, I found that that type of training for Reiki did not exist. And I began to investigate how to create a vocational school. And 2003, the Reiki training program was launched. And I began teaching and practicing and developing my private practice as a counselor. And it is amazing. I say this to my students, that if you hadn't told me 20 years ago that the Reiki training program would exist, that the Veterans Administration would be providing funding for veterans to take training, and that training, and that because I had gotten involved in Reiki, this would be the result. 20 years ago, no, I would have run away. But I stuck to it because it kept teaching me, and I keep doing Reiki because it keeps showing me things. It's the same process when you give a treatment, but every time it's different.
So just going a little bit more into it, when I did come out west, sorry. Hold on. I didn't find a program that was like what I had had. And that's what I started to base my training on, was this structure, right? Hold on a sec, sorry. Can't talk and do it at the same time. This was from my first Reiki class. This was actually back east. But the model I had gone through had been these structured levels and waiting periods. And when I came here, it didn't exist. And as I worked at Boeing, I learned about the vocational school system. And I remember some of my clients there saying, hey, could you teach me Reiki? And I went, well, I'm counseling you. I don't know if I could do that. And looked into the vocational school application and began the process. And so that took a while because the paperwork had to get approved, and I had people come and visit and make sure I was legit. And then every year I had to submit paperwork and often have a visit from the state to make sure like what I was doing was what I said I was doing. I've had the opportunity, some of you know, to travel a lot in my life. And this is from when I was at Kyoto at Sensei Sui's resting space, one of it, his public cemetery. He also has some of his ashes at a private cemetery, and it was really very meditative and beautiful experience to be there. So when I finally got to Seattle in '99, I look back at these pictures and some of these videos, and I realized I was just like going gangbusters to start to establish this school, right? I left Boeing and then I just went into teaching mode, and my counseling practice was on the side. This was taken near Golden Gardens in 2000, maybe. Initially, I was doing career counseling work and publishing articles. That's an early one. And then teaching Reiki at the Seattle Holistic Center. So what does that say? Winter, spring of 2002. And this is where I really began to start to see like how this vision of the training program could be. I was always grateful for that holistic center that still exists. It's there on Aurora, and also the Good Shepherd Center. Just really amazing people there. They really encouraged me to keep going. So I did. And one of my very first classes outside of the Holistic Center was this group. And some of you know Christina, who would often come around to Soundscapes, and Allie for a while. And then some of the others have either moved away or just gone different path, as we all do. And this is us and that. So it wasn't my first class in Seattle, but it was close for sure. And there's my notorious photo of my eyes closed while I'm talking Reiki. There's so many of them because like I would just do that. That's what I would do. This was a presentation at the social worker conference. So I was always having this influence of, or an interest in doing mainstream Reiki, like how can I take it to a place it's never been before? And then, the actual name Reiki training program. At the Holistic Center, it wasn't quite that yet. But as I moved out of that, I moved into this space that you all have come to know. And that was probably the first ad for it. And I was at the Maple Leaf Professional Center that's still there off Lake City Way. And before we had email newsletters, we had paper newsletters. So that's one of the oldies but goodies in my archives. So that was fun to dig out. This is at the Maple Leaf Center. I don't know if any of you have been there. It still looks like that. It's kind of cool to go back. Once in a while, I'll go. And this is a video. I took some clips from this movie that we actually made in 2004, which was a composite of interviews of Reiki practitioners, reenactment of the Asui story. And I think this piece is me teaching a Reiki one. So here's my younger self teaching this older self. It's kind of fun to watch. Anyway, enjoy this little piece. I hope the audio comes. I'd have to raise the volume.
There's no judgment and there's no analysis. It's just experience. The thing about Reiki also is there's no diagnosis. Just because the person feels this doesn't mean this doesn't work that way. There's more work in it. I know from my own experience of coming to Reiki, having an incredible session, similar to this type of setting. I came to a living room of my teacher's home, and there was a massage table, a couple massage tables set up, a practice session, so I lay down on the table. I'm laying there and going, oh my gosh, 5 people coming at me, what's going to happen? But I can remember the sensation of love, clarity, and peace, and maybe they worked on me for 15, 20 minutes, maybe got off of that table, and so many things going on in my mind, and they're just stillness. It's like I just started 15, smooth things like happen. Well, that's very impressive. I would like to report this.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool to do this movie. It occupied a lot of time. We actually did a release of it at the Northwest Film Forum on Capitol Hill. We rented a movie theater and had a red carpet. So I think we were always doing sort of some wacky stuff. This was taken at that Maple Leaf Center. And so some of you know Michael Manuel, and he was part of that time period. And Trudy also, who I later did all those 5-element meditations with, you know. So it's just so interesting to me digging back into the history to see like where we all are now and like how we keep evolving. Really, really cool. And then, of course, there's that event that some of you remember well and enjoy, and we still kind of are doing a version of it virtually, that Reiki soundscape. And one of the first places I found this kind of crumpled little postcard I had made was at this place called the Moving Space in Ballard, this amazing yoga studio. So we would do circles, soundscapes there in Fremont, and then we went back to Ballard. We were sort of there for a while, and then over to Green Lake, and then where else did we do the soundscape? We went when I was not the second Reiki studio in Georgetown, another one. So lots of evolutions of that event too. It's cool to realize it just kind of kept going and had its momentum. Here's an actual clip of a Reiki soundscape from that Reiki movie. This was at a yoga studio in Fremont near Dio Chocolate. I don't know if it's even there anymore.
as combining live music with the energy in this Reiki soundscape. What differentiates live sound from recorded sound is that tactile vibrations are emitted from the sound instruments themselves and totally surround participants.
That's me videotaping it. That's funny.
Reiki means universal energy. It's defined by the Japanese characters in which it's written. It's also referred to as kanji, which is calligraphy. So
Anyway,
together,
oops.
this concept of
Okay, let me just go back. Trudy, hi, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Awesome. We'll all connect after this slideshow or during it. We'll see. Whoops. At that yoga studio in Fremont, where that soundscape was videotaped, I did an art show for a moment. And that's what putting all these things together and looking back at the history has been. I'm like, oh yeah, we did that for a moment. Oh yeah, we did that too. And we did that wacky thing and we made that happen. And like, whose idea was that? And I mean, that's really the whole idea of creating a community, right? Around this beautiful healing art. Oh, that black velvet dress. What happened to that? I don't know. I wanted to, Trudy, you'll remember Andrea, of course, and maybe B. I wanted to just pay homage to these two ladies who were really part of that kind of, I feel like the Reiki training program has had like first generation, second generation, third generation. So this is a little homage to Andrea and B.
Reiki treatment feels relaxing. Often what you would feel would be a sense of heat over the area that's being treated, which is calming, and sometimes it can also be one hand that I love. Say one hand may feel a little bit cold. It's all good. It's all good.
Yay. So just a little homage to those ladies who really were instrumental in so many things. They helped out in so many ways. Gosh, for many years. Oh no, not that one. Getting it. Anyway, as I'm getting back to the slideshow, any thoughts, any comments? Anybody want to jump in and say something? This is a new way of doing like that slideshow where you'd have the projector, right? With like the sheet over the thing. Okay. And then another video series I did, and I posted this on Facebook not long ago during the pandemic as I was like going through some of my stuff. You know, I went into acting school at some point, and one of the things that I did was this series of short little introductory things around Reiki or the art of healing. And so this one is 2008, maybe something like that.
This is Eileen Day on behalf of Expert Village, and in this segment we're going to talk about the practice of Reiki. The practice of Reiki combines the concept of coming to oneness with the alignment one receives with an attunement, and as one opens to source, it flows. And so the practice focuses on hand positions initially, and we'll cover those in the next segment, but it also allows an individual to become more aware of the connection of all things and spaces and places.
Anyway, that's enough. I call her, that part of me, the Reiki cleavage video series. And there's one where the director had me talk about Reiki and animals. And there's like this mouse thing. And I was like showing how to do, my cleavage was there in this mouse. And anyway, I didn't want to like show it for this, but it's out there and I can never really get it back because that's what happens when you sign your name, be like, yeah, do whatever you want to do with those videos. Great. So anyway, that's out there, but who knows, maybe some students came through that door. I don't know. It would be interesting to know. Okay, well, speaking of coming through the door, one of my favorite places that we did a lot of work, some of you will remember this space, that's the big room at the old East-West bookshop there on 65th and Ravenna. That's a setup, we're getting set up for a soundscape. I mean, goodness, that store, I mean, they should do an homage. All the people and speakers that came through their doors over all the years, right? Just a lot of good energy in that room. And then we did Reiki clinics there way back when. And anyway, this was like the first iteration. I look at our setups and I'm like, oh man, like we could have made it look so much better, but it's like what we had. These like Reiki recliners, right? The Reiki chairs. That's Tom Brophy there. That's Monica Zip, if those of you know those folks. We had our Reiki t-shirts for different things. Teresa, who's also part of our community, would often wear like the Reiki t-shirt series, she called it. Like again, Reiki first generation, second generation, like for different events, we make different things. There's me giving some presentation at East West. And then I got myself a room at East West, and the Reiki community kind of moved in and we held circles there, and that's Kelly Glab. And we had 2 rooms there at that store for a while too. And we would have it was so busy, that Reiki circle. Sometimes we would have overflow out into the store or like down into the tea room area. It was quite a happening when we did those circles. Good times, good space. And in those years, so I'm guessing this is like 2007, 2008, something about that, we did these outreach events. We started to do more of that at festivals, and there's Teresa, and next to her right is Dina Marie, and then to her left is Samantha Parrott. And that outreach, it was at the Linwood Convention Center, and we took whatever loungers we had. You can even see Teresa's recipient. That's a backyard lounger. And we borrowed Richard's truck, and we took our like backyard loungers and chairs, and I ordered sheets, and sometimes it was like just the challenge, like, can we do this? Can we pull this off? And I was doing rehearsals for acting school at that time too. It was wild times and fun, a lot of energy. Yes, this is the house in back of me is Michael Emanuel's retreat cottage over there in Madison Valley. And for a short period of time, I was doing some classes over there. That was me and my very, very red hair day. I still have reddish tint, right? But that was like definitely taking it to some extreme. But it was a lovely, charming place to teach Reiki. And so before I had the lovely loft in Georgetown or the Maple Leaf Center, I had these other places and spaces. This one was at Cortiva Institute of Massage over there. What's the neighborhood there? Eastlake, I guess, by REI. I'm not sure. I don't even know if it's there anymore. Those massage classes would often get to 20. I think the biggest one we taught was 25, and I'd always have a co-facilitator with me. And that was also a challenge, you know, teaching in these more corporate kind of spaces and still making it feel welcoming and engaging. I did appreciate teaching at the massage schools because they always had the massage tables there. I would always say this at all the different events. Some of you remember me saying like, oh, I'm so tired of hauling this massage table, you know, like my shoulder like lopsided. And so the massage schools were fun. They definitely were fun that way. Ah, there he is. And so then somewhere along the way, I met my love in acting school. This was a Halloween that we got dressed up. We rented these costumes and got dressed up for. But there definitely is this like demarcation line from like what was like first generation Reiki and those experiences. And then after, in being in this wonderful relationship with Richard, my own creativity went to a whole other level. Like I see the difference. I mean, the first part of it, I think I was trying to figure out just how to do it and how it could sustain itself, right? So then literally from that point on, I was recording guided meditations, right? I was in acting school. I took some voice classes. I was feeling more confident about that. And these were the first ones that I did. And so some of you have listened to them. Thank you. Some of you still have them. Just a lot of light and joy being packaged, I guess, in another way. So that was has been, I will continue to probably record CDs, meditations, videos, I don't know, whatever the next iteration is. And writing, I've always written, but I had more impetus to publish in the Reiki News magazine. And because I ended up doing all these articles, I realized I could consolidate them and put them into a book. And that was the genesis for my book. But this article was also an example of the other outreach and things we were doing, right? Taking Reiki on the road, being more mobile, trying things out. Where else can we take this healing? And then take a breath, take a moment. Let's just join these people here on the shores of the Duwamish down here in Southwest Seattle. Inspired by a talk given by the late Dr. Emoto, Messages in Water, at Seattle Unity, I think over by the Space Needle, if I recall. He put forth a call to action for the healers and helpers of Seattle to come together and do healing work along bodies of water. So I put out the call and people came. And for a whole year, basically, the whole season of spring and summer and fall, each month we would meet and we would offer healing to the river. I tried to find the NPR interview, Reiki on the River. I have to dig deeper, but it's out there. That was sort of the pinnacle of the work, right? And this was another gathering down there. And some of you have seen probably that picture and also this clip. This is the trailer from that experience.
by coding for what they've done with their factories. And since then, every blessing we've done has synced up with very unusual, interesting events.
Spirit of the river, receive our blessings and allow us to keep you in our hearts.
I love you. I thank you. I respect you.
And there's that picture that I have probably used throughout the years just to show the amazing work that we did do. Man, I think I actually did the production on that little trailer, if I recall. So we all learned a bit of everything in doing this whole project, this endeavor called the Reiki training program. This was from a blessing we did up at that Shinto shrine in Granite Falls. So it was one of the first times I had been there. And this was a celebration of Sensei Isui's birthday back in that day. And some of you have seen that picture of me having my cake and eating it too in the river. Just a really beautiful space. If you've never been and you'd like to go to an authentic Shinto shrine, you could just look that up for Granite Falls. It's very, very beautiful and meditative. So in addition to soundscapes and Duwamish blessings, I also helped a student of mine and later colleague, Jennifer Yost, in her One Gathering events, where she would do basically mass attunements to the crowd and have musicians and speakers. And I looked at her website and it seems like she's still doing it with like an Egyptian bent. So it's just interesting that that started way back when and continues to go. And I found this cute picture of Jen and myself and Samantha. And at one time, we were definitely the trio of light workers for sure. And they've each like created their own amazing work for themselves. And somewhere in here, I just thought I'd throw this in because it was fun to see. I would get invited to do different projects. And there was this guy, Jeff Leisowitz, and he has this book out, Not Effing Around, and he wanted to interview motivational entrepreneurs, is what he said. So I was like, sure. It's always a good excuse to be on camera, I suppose. Okay, let's see.
I used to facilitate the Artist Way, you know, the book
Yeah.
of Julia Cameron. And she had a great exercise. It was called the Universe Jar or the God Box, which was like this creation you made where you would put your worries, your doubts, and your fears. And that is something I carried with me for so long, so that when they come up, I can feel them in my body. You know, it feels tight and tense, and I feel agitated and anxious. I'm like, okay, this has got to go in this place. I don't need to hold this. This is my own stuff. And this is really about the art. And you know, when you're talking about art or creativity, is it up to the artist? Isn't it up to the person who's watching it, really? Or viewing it or taking it in? So that's what I end up doing with my doubts and fears. That little technique of that universe jar, I'm always pitching Julia, maybe Julia, you'll see this, but like that artist way is a good model. Like, get out of your way.
Anyway, there's some other ones that are out there. Any of these videos, it's just always daunting, especially friends who haven't seen me in a while. They're like, what have you been up to? I'm like, Google my name. Wow, you're famous. I'm like, no, I'm not famous. I've just done a bunch of stuff, and this is like the legacy of all of us. It gets posted to that World Wide Web. So I had mentioned, right, like that second iteration of the Reiki training program, I got motivated creatively to do a lot of things, including taking those articles and making a book, and then going across the country. And actually, Richard and I went on a cruise with my family, and we met someone in Greece. I actually, you know, had talked about this book to someone out there on the lovely island of Corfu. So this further gave me a lot of confidence to be up in front of people and talking and answering questions and signing a book. It was weird. It still is, but I definitely enjoyed it. I'm grateful for my parents. They came along on some of those talks too. This one I think was in Arizona at the Changing Hands. Maybe my mom or my dad took that picture actually. That was a special night. Oh, let's just take a moment and pause. Okay, so now the Reiki training program kind of goes from the different places where I was teaching into my own home, into this beautiful home I continue to live out in West Seattle. And it basically became this Reiki sanctuary. And then that was my Reiki room and my attunement space. My kitty Suki is still there. It doesn't look like that now, but it did. And many of those objects still occupy the new space I'm in and other spaces I've been in. And lots of lovely people who came through and who took classes and attended circles. And there's Lisa, who I still keep in touch with in the green t-shirt, and Jen Evans and Lana Banana. And it's cool to find their old pictures when they were first taking classes from me. I had this heat lamp set up for a while that my cat Comet would always love, and myself and my clients still have that heat lamp. There's Catherine giving her master presentation in the living room. There's Yoda. You see him in the corner there. Around this time, moving the Reiki training program into the home, we were doing Reiki for veterans and also hospice Reiki. There's a Reiki circle. We used to have these circles in that Reiki room. And then this was the news clip. It was like played way early in the morning. I think Arlene, you were the only one who actually saw it. I remember you telling me that when we got funding to do the Reiki for veterans, and that's Michael Emanuel.
Is that it's free to watch, to learn the practice of Reiki. This is a technique that's based on the idea that a therapist can channel energy into a patient through touch, helping to restore physical and emotional health. This isn't just about one-on-one sessions. Those veterans can now use part of their GI Bill to become a certified provider themselves. And that training can take up to a year, and it can cost thousands of dollars.
You're teaching them this tool so they now can use it on themselves, and they can also go forward and use it on others in their lives, and including other veterans.
The Seattle program has already worked with about 60 local vets. 2 more have signed up since new funding was just announced.
So interesting, right? To see pre-pandemic news about something as positive as Reiki. Yay. And then coming back to Reiki in the home. This is a park that's nearby my house. And if you took Reiki 3 for me during that time, you went to this park where we did the golden egg ceremony. And everything changes. That's sort of what I'm left with in putting this together and reflecting on Reiki and the training program. And that beautiful portal doesn't look like that anymore, but I'm glad I took a picture of it. We also, there's Olga, awesome, Cedar, oh, Nina, there's Jeff, oh, it's great, and Arlene. We would have gatherings at the house, just that was a spontaneous sound jam that happened, parties, good times. That house still looks the same, but the furniture is a little different maybe. Backyard gatherings, Teresa and Christina and Jen and Michelle and Nina. That was a fun. I think that was, I called it the gathering of the goddesses. It was impromptu. And my student Heather asked me if she could take that title and kind of run with it. And she has. And just like Jen Yost, she's ended up doing this annual gathering of goddesses. But it started there in the backyard. And that's like what I feel when I talk about the training program. I'm like, yeah, it started in the backyard. You know, I'll come back to this one. This was another one.
Reiki is finding out more about who you are and what you have to offer to the world. My name is Eileen Day. This is the Reiki training program, and we're located in West Seattle. Reiki is very similar to hands-on healing. So we use our hands as well as a very light mental focus in directing energy to different energy centers in the body. They're called chakras. They're called meridians. That's why Reiki is very similar to acupuncture without needles. The Reiki training program is a state-certified vocational school. It's the only one of Reiki. We offer all levels of Reiki training, Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki 3. Each class builds upon the other. We also offer classes in business, marketing, cultivating a successful practice, as well as ethics, Chinese medicine, and many, many hours of hands-on practice outside of the classroom so students can become more proficient.
I would recommend the Reiki training program to anyone who already has an interest in Reiki and wants to learn it in a way that will really allow them to make practical use of it in their life.
Yay! So just a little snippet of that video. I feel like I can't watch any more of myself, but maybe you guys are enjoying the slideshow. So I'll just kind of forward. We did those Solar Fests. We created those tents. We did so many hours of Reiki for the public. I mean, I do hope we can do variations of this. But so many people benefited and often came for classes or just kept in touch right? Through these outreach circles and sessions that we did. There's Jason. There's our little setup. But people stopped. They were like, what is this? This looks weird and different. Cool. I love that picture of you guys. I think that's just so sweet and special. Jeff and Olga and Cedar. And that was the last iteration of those Reiki t-shirts, the purple ones. So I don't know what the new ones will look like, but we'll have to get creative, and I welcome suggestions. Oh, Esperanza and Carolyn. There they are. And Catherine. And this is Kelly Glab's little daughter, Sarah, who's now 15. So that's when that photo was taken. And we had this called Chakra Man that was like a beanbag toss of the chakras. And it always made people stop because they'd never seen anything like that. And Samantha Parrott's husband actually made it. Here's some other outreach. There's Jackie, excuse me, Jackie Hansen. This was at the Boeing Psychic Expo in Kent. Is that right? Yes, there's Jen. There's Jody. Hey, awesome. And there's Cindy. Oh, we had a really good time that day. It was it's always interesting working the psychic fairs, right? All that psychic energy. Another t-shirt iteration. I'm like, I would probably know what year it was by the t-shirts. There they are. This was a crew. We took them out to Ronald McDonald House. We actually did some service out there around the same time as hospice. Here's our group. This was in the Fremont office. We did some Reiki circles there for a while. And this was a Reiki soundscape in Ballard at the Tai Chi place. Let's just take a little moment if you need, and hopefully if you've needed to get up and stretch or get something to eat, you have. But this was some soundscape music down in Tacoma. I could just stay there for a long while. We'll have to do a little bit of that towards the end. But I'm getting there. Just to kind of wrap up. From my house, we moved into Northwest Alameda, Seattle. And that was some video of that Northwest Alameda.
I'm Eileen Davis. I'm a licensed mental health.
You know who I am? I can't watch myself anymore.
If I saw any need for more extensive training with Reiki, for students who really have the opportunity for both mentorship, guidance, and becoming the best practitioners and teachers that they can. I've been practicing Reiki for over 20 years. It's my passion to teach Reiki and show how Reiki can transform both students and their clients' lives. Reiki is a form of hands-on healing developed by its founder, Mikao Usui, in Japan in the last century. As it came to the West, the training of Reiki changed, and I feel honored that my own learning of Reiki was in its more traditional form, called Usui Shiki Ryoho, or Usui System of Natural Healing.
The length of time a student takes with their training, which varies in length from 9 to 12 months, ensures that they have adequate preparation for serving and teaching their clients. Classes in various levels of Reiki, communication, ethics, marketing, and traditional Chinese medicine are offered each quarter. Instructors are graduates from the Reiki training program, including myself, offering our wisdom and knowledge of this healing art.
You know, it's so interesting about Northwest Ayurveda. I have met back up with the practitioner. She continued through the quarantine in West Seattle, and it's amazing. Like, it's transplanted. I mean, that's what happens. We take all of this beautiful energy in this community and like we shift it to some other place, and that vibe is still there. And so she's still there, even though the space looks different. And that same thing happened when we moved into Georgetown, into that loft space. It was like all the accumulated wisdom and the exchange of energy with everybody went into this space. Right? It's like in my mind, it's like still there, even if physically it's not there. Right? Ah, there she is. And then just to the Day of the Dead celebrations every year in all different ways. Oh, there's Trudy. Oh, this was from our first.
Hey, Trudy.
Hi, Eileen. Funny seeing you here.
Yeah, really. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Pondering the messages of the universe through the 5 elements of Chinese medicine.
Wow. Looks like we're going into the recording studio. Are we going into the recording studio?
Deja vu.
Wow.
I think we were there for the wood element, weren't we?
I think we were. Okay, and that's our sound engineer, Tom, although he's disappeared. Let's see if we can find him. We're here at the Jack Straw recording studio in the University District. It's a lovely fall day. There's sun, and we're going on in. This is what it looks like. Look how nice and quiet this space is. It's so quiet. Yay! Okay, we're gonna get
invaded by our sound.
All right, that's it for now, folks.
Yay! Okay, so just moving through Georgetown. Again, all the amazing people who've come through, Shay, Logan, and the sessions and events, and it's like, I'm guessing that was a Reiki circle in the summertime. And then Cedar bringing her gift of the despacho, right? And all the different iterations at the centers, on the retreats, right? So that deserves just a little shout out. All the years of doing Reiki retreats in different places, Vashon, Camp Brotherhood. Oops, sorry. There's Jeff doing a singing bowl workshop, Cedar performing a piece of the despacho ritual. And I actually found this like video of us attempting to bury despacho, but now I'm thinking maybe that's not appropriate. So Cedar, you'll have to let me know about that. What I will show you is the blessing of it. And some favorite folks, Jude, Siddall. Here's our group from one of the retreats. Oh yeah, that. The offering of the despacho on fire to the water, to the earth. Kind of our raffles and meditating. There's everybody playing flute, and Olga teaching us to play flute. Jackie and Ellen. Jackie's gonna have a baby. Yay. There's that space where we would talk and chat and play. Lovely. And then I found from the Brighton Bush retreat. So, wow, look at that. I went as long as I went. That was my slideshow. Thank you for bearing witness to it and just watching and just taking it in and reflecting your own self of where you were when you met me or where you've been as you've continued on with Reiki. So I'm just gonna open it up to the group and let you share with the time we have remaining. And hopefully it doesn't get too crazy with voices, but let's just see how it goes. So whoever wants to share, thank you.